Hello, everyone. We are really excited to have you here, whether you're joining us from your office, your home, or maybe even on the go. Welcome here. Today's topic is all about making IoT development easier and faster without starting from scratch. I'm Alex, and I want to welcome you to our webinar today, Building Custom IoT Products Without Reinventing the Wheel. Now, in this webinar, I'm going to be with Dan Pape. Am I saying that correctly, your name?
Well, it's a Dutch name, so you pronounce it as Dan Pape, but you're doing a terrific job, so feel free, Alex.
All right, thank you then. Now, Dan is the owner and technical expert at DP Technics, producer of the Walter board, which we'll be learning more about as a solution for custom IoT products. Now, before continuing, I want to know who is with us today. So please introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you're watching this from. I'm gonna give you a couple of seconds so you can write something in the chat. Just open it here. Yes, okay. So for now, there's Phil from Brazil. Don't be shy. Comment where you are from. I'm in Brazil too, and Dan is in Belgium. Am I right?
Yes, correctly. Belgium in Europe, close to the North Sea, near Bruges.
Okay, great. I see that we have Gerardo from Italy. I hope that I'm saying this correctly too. Alexa from Dominican Republic. And Albury from the beautiful islands of Bahamas. I wonder how the weather is today in Bahamas. I know that in Europe it is cold because of the winter. Here in Brazil, it's really, really hot. I wonder how the Bahamas is today. We also have Peter Tozzati from Brazil. Okay, we're doing good. I am in Santa Catarina in the south of Brazil, just to give you an idea. So it's not that hot. I mean, it could certainly be hotter. Now, as we continue with our presentation here, you may see a pop-up window, which is going to show you a poll, a question with a couple of answers for you to select from. So if you're a little bit shy and don't want to say anything in the chat, you can still participate in the poll, selecting the right option that suits for you. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat box. We're going to do our best to answer you real time. Or if not, we're going to answer to you by the end of this presentation. All right. Now, think of today as a journey. We're going to start with a big picture of TagoIO. Zoom into the Walter board, and then connect the dots to show you how these tools empower real-world solutions. We will talk a little bit about Tago and how it fits in the ecosystem, as well as how the data flows in and out of TagoIO. Then we'll talk about the Walter board and how it connects to TagoIO. Then we'll present his board and explain how it can help create innovative IoT projects, how his customers and users have used the Walter board to resolve problems. Right after that, we'll get to know a little bit more about the Walter and what comes next for DP Technics. Finally, we are also going to invest some time to answer your questions. Now, for those new to TagoIO, TagoIO is our platform to receive, stores, and process information from sensors, and to interpret the data in meaningful ways. Whether you want a real-time view of your devices or a complete application that performs calculations, handles automations, and displays KPIs, the critical metrics that provide evidence for smart decision-making, Tago delivers that. Plus, you can offer your users a fully customizable portal, all in one place. In a nutshell, whether you're a developer building a proof of concept or a company rolling out thousands of devices, Tago scales with you, just like the Walter does. Now, in the IoT ecosystem, we are the layer that turns connectivity into clarity, helping developers, integrators, and businesses build complete IoT applications with ease, while giving end users a customizable site to interact with their solutions. We support many types of connectivity, ranging from HTTPS and MQTT to UDP and many integrations that we offer for LoRaWAN network servers and satellite connectivity providers, among others. Now, this flexibility is what makes TagoIO such a strong player in the IoT ecosystem. We don't lock you out of a path. We open many doors and many windows. Now, let's make a brief pause here to read the chat. Let's see if anyone else has said anything. You can feel free to ask questions if there is anything that you would like to know, either from Dan or from me, or from our platforms. Okay, I see that people are very focused on what we're saying, so we're going to continue now. Now you may be asking yourselves, how does the Walter work with TagoIO? Well, Walter acts as a sensor device which sends information to TagoIO using the different connectivities and protocols which can be implemented. The Walter is very flexible about that. Dan is going to expand a little bit more on it. On the protocol layer, information can be received by using MQTT, HTTPS, and also UDP. Talking of which, I have my own Walter here. Now you can see it. I got it from in Barcelona when I first met Dan, and I've had a lot of fun by programming in it. I'm not a programmer by trade, but I've had a lot of fun programming in it, and that's a good thing. It means that hardware is becoming more accessible, not for engineers, not only for engineers, but anyone that's curious about building solutions, custom solutions. Now, let me ask you a question in the poll. Give me a couple of seconds here while I set this up. Yes, the first question is going to pop up right now. Right now. Yeah, now it does. I'm going to give you 30 seconds while you select the right option for you. Okay, we're having a couple of answers already. Now, as I was looking for at the capabilities of the Walter, I was really surprised about all that you could fit in this small board, because it has not only like the space and the capabilities for LTE communications, but also for GPS or GNSS. So that's going to play a part in what the concept of Walter came from. All right, I think it is enough time. Let me close the poll right here and share a little bit. I see that we have a lot of students in here, pairs or people with a personal interest in the Walter. We have CTOs, we have trace makers, systems integrators, we have all kinds of people in here, and that's great to see here. All right, let me just interrupt this part in here so we can move on to our presentation. Okay. Now, it is time for me to pass the mic to Dan, who is going to go deeper into the Walter's capabilities. So Dan, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Alexander. So zooming in on Walter, what is our module all about? Well, we have designed Walter to be a true IoT problem solver. When you design IoT products, you typically want to include wireless connectivity in your product. And when doing this in a custom designed product, that's not an easy task. You need to design your circuit board to be RF, you have the antennas to choose, and you need to go through certifications like FCC, CE, RCM, and a whole bunch of tests that go with these certifications. Now, that's a whole timeline that you need to manage and a whole cost that you need to manage for your product to bring it onto the market. What we did with Walter is we designed a module that makes all these steps a lot easier and a lot more accessible for many companies. What we did is we integrated the microcontroller, which in the case of Walter is an ESP32S3, and we paired this together with cellular connectivity and GPS, or better said, GNSS, because we support GPS and GLONASS. It gives you a really compact module, which is called Walter, with all wireless connectivity that you would need for most IoT projects in a single module. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth Low Energy, LTE Cat M1, Narrowband IoT, and the GNSS receiver. By having all these technologies in the module, together with also the RF trace routings and the main DC-DC power supplies, the only thing that you need to do to design a custom product is create a carrier board with the right peripherals to power your product. So in Walter, you have all the microprocessing power, the wireless capabilities, and also the DC-DC converter. And this is really important because many wireless IoT products need to be really power efficient. And we focused a lot on power efficiency with Walter, as it's only using 9.5 microamps in deep sleep. That means that Walter can power products that need to be battery powered and run on these batteries for years. So that's the hardware part. But besides hardware, software is also really important in an IoT project. We have the hardware part as a building block, and we offer open source libraries together with this. These open source libraries are available on GitHub, and you can choose the stack that you're going to program in. You can program an ESP IDF for your professional projects and when you want to have fine-grained control over the microprocessor. But you can also program an Arduino when you want to make a really fast proof of concept and have something talking to TagoIO in just an hour of time. But you also have MicroPython and Zephyr OS as your options, which are all fully supported. And that's a true differentiator for Walter, where we say own your IoT stack and have full control over the software that runs on Walter. And that's the last important part. When you design and put IoT products on the market, that's not something like a smartphone that's available for 1 or 2 years. You are going to design a product that's going to be deployed for 5, 10, or even 15 years. So you need to have a really good choice when it comes to supply chain, both in hardware and software. And that's why we have good contacts with the manufacturers of our components to give a 10-year availability guarantee on the Walter module. So that you know when you design in Walter in a project today, you know that you're going to be able to buy Walter in 10 years from now. So that's why we call Walter an IoT building block that allows custom off-the-shelf products and is a true problem solver. You can design your products. You don't need to go through expensive certifications, only minor certifications such as EMC and spurious emissions, and you have the embedded software libraries that come with Walter to bring your product to life. So let's focus a bit on the applications that we see that our customers are building with Walter. We have a range of applications that you can think of. Virtually anything that benefits from wireless connectivity can be built with Walter, both mains powered as battery powered. I'm going to highlight a few today. We see a lot of applications where Walter is used in a custom gateway. For example, weather stations, where Walter is built in a weather station and connects to various sensors. We see a lot of scientific and maritime applications where the Walter board is built into sensors or gateway sensors that connects to subsurface sensors or specific industrial settings. Or we see a lot of battery-powered devices. Take, for example, the middle sensor on the picture that you see on the slide with the solar panels. That's an energy harvesting sensor where we use the low power capabilities of Walter, where it is sending temperature of a horse every 5 minutes to the cloud. And based on that temperature, it's going to notify the user when that horse is going to give birth. And that's done all without any batteries involved. So that's truly amazing that a sensor with a SIM card can update the cloud every 5 minutes, even without batteries involved. So how are you going to develop your custom carrier board for a module like this? For that, we have a solution that we call Walter Fields. And Walter Fields, you can see that as a template but for hardware. It's a carrier board that contains all kinds of possibilities in a tested way. And it's fully open source, both the software and the hardware. It's just a KiCad project that's available on GitHub, but you can also buy the board as is. And that makes Walter Fields usable in two ways. Either you buy the Walter Fields board as is, and then you just need to write the software and connect it to the platform, such as TagoIO, and then you're good to go to make your own industrial installation, weather sensor installation, you name it. You have all the sensors there. You have built-in temperature, built-in humidity, 6 degrees of freedom, IMU, barometric pressure, CO2, also all kinds of field buses like RS-232, RS-485, SDI-12, CAN bus. We have solar power input. We have battery charging for lithium, lead, supercapacitor. That's all on board for both small and large solar panels. Besides that, you can also go the more custom route where you just download the KiCad project and scrap everything that you don't need. The advantage of that is that you can do everything in-house, both hardware and software, but you don't need to start from scratch. You know you are starting from a project that is well certified, and you just scrap what you don't need to build the cost optimized product and the product with all the functions that you need just from a custom template. So that's what Walter Fields is. So Walter and Walter Fields together with the software, that forms a true IoT problem solving packet, what we call an IoT building block. So that's in short what Walter and Walter Fields is.
All right, well, that's great. It's great to know that we have these building blocks to create more custom solutions in the IoT, in this IoT atmosphere, so to say. Now, let me take a look here at the chat. We have a question by Adam Thompson. Hello, Adam. And his question for you, Dan, is, can this be used on all the major cellular carriers LTE networks?
Well, yes. So the Walter Fields, so Walter uses LTE Cat M1 or narrowband IoT. And the modem that we use is Sequence and has carrier certifications for all major networks. And when you're using an MVNO SIM card, it can connect to any network that the MVNO supports. You need to be aware that LTE Cat M1 is an IoT network. So you need to check that LTE-M is available in the area that you want to connect. But we see that coverage is growing a lot, and in many parts of the world, LTE-M is already available. But certainly reach out to us and we'll help you with the connectivity.
All right. Now, about contacting us, both Tago and also DP Technics, I'm showing here this slide where you can get the links to contact us, whether it's for Tago or for the Walter, to know more about it. So you can access these links anytime you want. For now, I'm going to show you another poll for you to answer. This is going to be the last one. So let me just take a little bit. Okay. Now you should be seeing now the question in a pop-up window. I'm going to ask you to kindly answer the question that most relates to you. All right. Now, as people are answering this question here in the poll, I would like to ask you, Dan, about the origin of the Walter. What motivated you to create it?
Yes, so we are, as DP Technics, we were founded in 2017 as an IoT development company. We do have in-house expertise on PCB design, embedded software, cloud, UI, UX, virtually all skill sets needed for IoT projects. And many companies came to us with the question to design wireless IoT products for them. But they also didn't have the volumes to go fully custom. And that was a shame because they had really nice ideas, mostly like niche ideas, but they would be great, but only had a few hundred to a few thousand pieces a year potential. Now,
Mhm.
certification and engineering costs would kill these problems or these ideas instantly. And that's what brought us to the idea to design Walter as a building block to solve that issue. Because with Walter, we can now actually help these customers because the biggest part of these kind of solutions in engineering and certification costs is in the wireless part. And Walter already has all these wireless parts inside. So now with Walter, we can bring all these ideas to life. And even companies that only do 50 or 100 pieces a year can bring custom wireless IoT products with cellular, with Wi-Fi, with Bluetooth Low Energy to the market. And that's what inspired us to build Walter.
All right. That's great to know the history of the Walter. Now, remember, guys, that you can ask any questions that you may have, so we can answer you right away. We're coming to the end, to the last part of our presentation, so feel free to ask anything you would like to know. For now, there is something that I want to ask you, another question. For those who don't know me, I am the CSM, one of the CSMs at TagoIO. So I am in contact with many customers, many users and people who just are curious about managing an IoT solution. And one of the most asked questions is about scalability. That's something that they like to know, both about Tago and also about the Walter. Now, since about Tago I can talk about at any other moment, I would like to know more about how can Walter scale. Tell me a little bit more about it. Can the Walter
Yeah.
board scale easily transition from a prototyping to a large scale deployment?
Yes, definitely, definitely. So we designed Walter to be both the prototyping board and the board that goes into production. And this is actually quite special. So what you typically see in hardware development is that when you start a design with some kind of module, is that you buy the evaluation kit, you connect up the evaluation kit, you write some software on a breadboard and this kind of things and then you make a proof of concept. But that's something that you can't scale. And then when you actually want to scale up, you virtually need to start from scratch all over again. With Walter, that's not the case because Walter actually is made to be used from the prototyping stage, but transition and grow together with you to the production phase. We did this on a hardware level. Walter is compact enough to go into your product. It also has all the facilities to be mounted both in a THT as well as in an SMT process. And it has all the software libraries, both for prototyping, for example, Arduino, but also for production, for example, ESP-IDF. So that means you start a project, you connect up some sensors and everything that you need in a few hours, and you have it up and running. And then you use the same module in your production stage. So you just need to scale up your prototype in the hardware side by making the breadboard carrier board a PCB carrier board, for example, but the module stays the same. And that's truly refreshing in the hardware world that you can take your proof of concept that you've shown to everybody that you know that works well, that you just need to build in the right software and the right carrier board to scale it up to production.
Okay. Now, with all the experience that you have and the contact that you have had with your customers and your users, I mean, I am already in your Discord server, and I see that there are people constantly asking questions, making suggestions, and also giving a glimpse on what they're doing and their solutions. Now, so there is something I wanted to ask you, since I'm sure that you can answer that to us. Have you seen any surprising or creative applications of the Walter board from early adopters?
Yes, definitely. I must say the example that I gave earlier, like the customer that created internet connected horses, that was definitely surprising to us. There are people that are using Walter to in settings where they are doing high-speed pursuit solutions, which was also really enjoyable to see. Then we had Walter seen in a digital image frame, where they had a digital image frame, and instead of connecting it to Wi-Fi, they have connected it through cellular connectivity so that they can place it in a home where there was no internet connectivity. Um, yeah, all kinds of use cases, too many to name actually. But that's the cool thing about Walter, it's so versatile.
Indeed, indeed it is. Now, I see that a number of our audience is composed of students, and many of them are going to become innovators, people that build something from the ground up, or maybe from your inspiration. So I would like to know about your advice for innovators. What advice would you give to developers and entrepreneurs that are looking to bring their own hardware and ideas to life?
Yeah, so I actually founded the DP Technics company while being a student at Ghent University. So one advice is go for it when you want to found your own company. Another advice is when more focused on IoT is that don't be afraid to go with custom hardware and software. We see a lot of our customers coming to us that had a pure off-the-shelf solution before. But with off-the-shelf, you typically either get a device which is too expensive and has way more options than you'll ever use, or you have a device which is cost-effective but doesn't have all the options that make you truly differentiate yourself from the competition. And with Walter and platforms like TagoIO, you can really build a custom off-the-shelf solution. So that means that with a little bit of development effort, you can really differentiate yourself from the competition. And I think that you don't need to be afraid to pursue that path.
All right. Now, my last question for now is this. I want to know about the future of the Walter board and DP Technics. Where do you see the Walter board heading in the next few years? Are there new features or expansions that you are excited about?
Well, firstly, the Walter board is a board with a focus on longevity. That's really important to know. So we are constantly evolving on the software libraries. Just a few days ago, we released a new version of our library that helps our customers to build their software even better. We're going to release quite some extra tooling to make the flashing of the board better in production environments, recovery tools, and so on. Also, this year, in about 2 weeks from now, we're going to make a big hardware announcement at Embedded World. So a lot of new things are going on. But also with the existing Walter board, there's a great future ahead because the cellular technologies inside they are released in the 4G era. So narrowband IoT and LTM, they were introduced in 3GPP release 13, which is the 4G era. But these are the only technologies from 4G that are also adopted in 5G. And that's really, really important part because many of the operators are gradually, I'm thinking of 2030, 2035, they are going to adopt 5G standalone networks. And that means that when an operator does that, 4G is going to stop working. But Walter, as the technology LTM and narrowband IoT is also adopted in 5G, it will remain valid technology and it will be able to connect to these 5G standalone networks. And that's important when you're choosing a connectivity solution today, that you think of the future and to what operators are going to deploy in the future. So therefore, Walter is future-proof.
Okay, all right. Now, I don't see any more questions from our audience. So that brings us to the end of today's session. First of all, A big thank you to Dan and sharing his expertise and showing us the possibilities with the Walter board. It's always inspiring to see how hardware and platforms like TagoIO come together to make IoT's projects real. And of course, thank you to all of you for joining us, participating in the chat, and sharing your thoughts. We hope that you leave today with new ideas and a clearer picture on how TagoIO and Walter can fit in your IoT journey. If you'd like to keep exploring, you can sign up for a free TagoIO account and start building right away. And don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to hear about your projects and help them bring to life. On behalf of the TagoIO team and also DP Technics, thanks again for spending this time with us. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Bye-bye.